Good afternoon. Today's address will talk about our hybrid model of education. Last week, we talked a lot about remote. So this year, right now, our plan was to go with a hybrid model. And the goal is still to introduce a hybrid model before too long into the school year. So as I stated last week, Saugus will be reopening remotely for students on September 16th. The decision to open with our remote plan was influenced by the state metrics placing Saugus in the red. Since the last data collection by the state, Saugus has moved into yellow, a positive trend, a trend that we will continue to watch. The school committee made their vote to go remote, basically to, once again, help to support the health and safety of students and staff and technically meet all the guidelines and recommendations put out by state organizations. So we continue to monitor this data, and the plan is to revisit this decision in October. Because again, our goal is to increase in-person instruction for our staff and students. And with that in mind, I'd like to talk about our plans for a hybrid learning model. So our hybrid learning model is a blend of in-person and remote learning for students and staff. In this model, students would attend in-person classes for part of the school week and learn remotely for the remainder of that time. As we were developing this plan, we looked at other districts' plans and we followed the advice from the Department of Education. There was a great variety of hybrid models ranging from weeks on and weeks off for students, full days and half days, 2 days in person versus 3 days in person. Our plan for Saugus Public Schools and the students will be to divide our classrooms into two cohorts, Cohort A, Cohort B. Cohorts will report to school on 2 designated school days each week. On the other 3 days that students are not in school, students will receive instruction through their remote learning platform and schedule. Every Monday will be devoted to remote learning. So again, every Monday is a remote day. Tuesdays through Friday, we will begin our hybrid model. So students in Cohort A will report in person for learning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Students in Cohort B will report for in-person learning on Wednesdays and Fridays. We'll do our best to create balanced cohorts by alphabet-based last name. We recognize that some adjustments may be needed, and these adjustments are in part due to our ability to maintain 6 feet of social distancing in our classrooms, which really only allows for 12 to 13 desks at maximum. In the event of a shortened week or holiday, the district will reserve the right to rearrange days to provide equity between the 2 cohorts. We would provide parents prior knowledge well in advance of any changes to the schedule. We will do our best to ensure that siblings are placed in the same cohort, even if they attend different buildings or have different surnames. Monday serves as a remote learning day that provides our staff the time needed to plan and maintain in-person and remote instruction. In the hybrid model, staff would report to school Tuesdays through Friday each week. Again, on Mondays, staff would be expected to work remotely. In this model, our students would be with their teachers in person twice a week. The staggered days provide the in-person instructions to be spread out throughout the week, rather than concentrated at the beginning or end of the week. So there were questions why we chose a Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's why we did not want to put some students in person and then go maximum days without in person again. And the classrooms will be cleaned at night as part of our regular cleaning schedule. And it is our hope that this model would establish a school routine that would allow for parents to better schedule their week. Our hybrid model allows us the opportunity to start in-person instruction slowly by bringing in half of our students at a time to a classroom. This allows us to maintain our 6 feet social distancing and will position us to better maintain a healthy and safe school environment for students and staff. I also see this hybrid model allowing our students to acclimate to a very different school environment by coming in smaller groups. Our elementary schools and middle high complex will have schedules for students and parents based on our hybrid model, even as we open remote. Mondays will be remote, Tuesdays through Friday will be cohort-based. These schedules will look different for K-5 and 6-12. We're using the hybrid schedule even in our remote start. We're doing this with the hopes it would create that smooth transition into in-person learning when the time comes. Before September 16th, the start of the school year for our students, we will have schedules and cohort assignments provided to all parents. Several updates, though, I need to address. Parents have been emailing about the possibility of not sending their child to school next year and would rather remote for the 2021 school year. I've started to collect those emails and will be reaching out to parents next week by phone. It's important, and I say this again, please, it's important to send those types of emails to my fall reopening at saugus.k12ma.us. I personally monitor that account, and I'll be calling parents next week to discuss those options. I have also received questions from parents asking if they start with Saugus remote, but still are not comfortable sending their child to school in a hybrid, can they stay remote with the class? School committee, subcommittee policy members and I are working on developing a policy for such a request. This year, any remote learning will require check-ins with classes, individual planning and setup, and common grade level department planning. Again, we're trying our best to model a regular school day in a remote setting. We will be assigning grades to all remote work. When we enter the hybrid model, the district still and must comply with all health and safety recommendations as outlined under the in-person model. We continue to work hard and plan for our goal of providing in-person instruction and service for our district's most vulnerable special education students. We're following the DESE, Department of Ed's advisory, to begin with elementary level students, defining these students as those who spend the majority of their educational day in substantially separate educational settings. I know there are a lot of questions around special ed, and I will be setting up another community address for next week earlier, and I have invited my special ed director, PPS, Dawn Trainer, and Mr. Brendan Sullivan to also help me address some questions that are more specific to their roles. The instruction for special ed will begin as soon as safely possible following the remote start to the school year for all students on September 16th. Families of special education students will be notified as soon as we have all of the information, and we will work to extend this plan gradually to include more special education students as long as safety and health metrics allow. The COVID-19 remote learning plans around special ed will be updated from the spring and communicated to all families of students with IEPs soon after students start school. Please remember, we encourage and need strong, consistent, two-way communication between home and school administration. And we also know staff will play a vital role in the success for our children. All right, a reminder, we will only be providing bus transportation for students K-6 who live 2 miles or more from their schools. Again, we will be notifying, we're still finishing up registration. We'll send out notifications to parents of children who qualify. In the next few weeks, schools will be reaching out to parents to arrange a time for you to pick up a Chromebook. That's another big question. So as we bring staff and teachers back into the district gradually, we hope to have these schedules put out to you well before the 16th. Each building will be a little different in it, but we will be handing out the Chromebooks. These are times filled with questions and a certain degree of anxiety for parents, students, and staff. We closed abruptly in March, and we were all hoping we would be out of the shadow of this virus. Almost 6 months later, we find ourselves still dealing with health and safety issues as a state and a country. So we must face the reality of wearing masks, hand washing, sanitizer, and social distancing. This is all part of our future, and I believe it's going to be part of our future for a long time to come. Many of you, like myself, have taken on the practice of wearing a mask when we are in public. We keep hand sanitizer in our vehicles and on our desks, and we wash our hands more today than we ever did. This is our new future. This is how we will move back to some resemblance of the way things used to be. This is how we will bring in-person instruction back to our schools. We all have to do our part, and I believe we as a community and a district can do this successfully, practicing health and safety guidelines. Thank you. Your support has been appreciated. Town, union officials, we're still working hard to make this right for the community of Saugus. Thank you.